I'm talking today with Janel Ball. She is the owner and therapist of Healing Solutions, Professional Counseling Services. She's a registered clinical counselor specializing in EMDR. She's based in Vancouver, British Columbia, and she's been helping people for 25 years. Janel, thank you so much for joining us today. It's wonderful to chat with you. There's always some great insights that come out of this.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. It's as I said, it's always a pleasure. Your business, of course, is relationships. And you've got a ton of things in your brain that I'm sure people would love to know a little bit about. So let's talk about relationships. And the first question I have for you is about understanding our behaviors in our past relationships and what do they have to do with our future relationship success? Can you help our listeners understand what one has to do with the other? Because I think a lot of people just think that, oh, well, my relationship has ended. I'll go looking for a new one. And so they find the next one. And then maybe similar things happen. I don't know. But
Right. I guess you're probably right. People don't always put a lot of thought into it, like what went right, what went wrong, what part did I play in it? I think there's so much that goes into successful relationships. What happened in our family dynamic growing up? What did we see with our parents? And what other sort of relationship skills or communication skills have we learned along the way? There's really so much that goes into it. A lot of people will say, "Oh, but I'm in love." And I don't know how many times I've said to clients, like, love is one piece of like a pie that's like 100 pieces.
yeah.
Like love is like one minor part of of a successful
And
relationship.
we all of us think that that's the whole thing, right? Okay, so
Yeah,
I met
yeah.
somebody and they're fantastic, and oh my gosh, I'm in love with this person.
Right. And
And yeah,
And the beginning of a relationship is not at all real life,
yeah,
right? So this is when we go into the honeymoon period. We call it limerence, and the brain is like firing in a million different ways. And some people have studied, and I guess it's like what's going on in the brain when people are in limerence is very similar to somebody who's not really all that emotionally stable. Like there's a lot going on with our neurotransmitters, with our hormones, and so we're kind of in like a la la land.
so the whole idea of being crazy in love is actually a thing.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that. So
Well,
okay, so now there's this understanding I think that we need to have about our past relationships.
mhm.
Um, is there a one-to-one? Can we say that okay, so we there was this poor outcome from this past relationship. A lot of
Mhm.
us may be thinking, oh, why bother? Why bother getting into a next relationship because my relationships have always turned out so poorly.
Some people definitely go down that path. I see people talking online about how they've given up on relationships altogether because they're way too stressful.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with like the partner you pick and also what you bring to the table.
Yeah, that makes
And it,
sense.
we talk about people having patterns. You can see relationship patterns that people
Yeah.
have. So patterns are based on a concept called repetition compulsion.
Hmm.
And this is where our brain repeats patterns later in life that mimic an original wound, some sort of a original emotional wound. So often from childhood.
Hmm.
And, I think the brain does this as a way to try to heal the original wound if it can get a sense of mastery over this
Okay.
disturbance or a psychological problem that never got resolved earlier on. If I get a sense of mastery over it now, then it's going to heal this original thing. If it ever actually works, I don't know because those aren't the clients that I meet.
Right. Okay.
It's the people who come in and say that they've got these patterns persisting, and so what I do with the EMDR is go in and heal the original wound, the childhood trauma,
Okay.
and then we can break the pattern. But in all of that, like some people can do some therapy on their own and come
Sure.
to terms with things and actually be able to like do some healing and really change how they show up in relationships. For people who don't necessarily have that kind of stuff that they're working on or want to work on, I think it can be really important to ask themselves, like, what worked
Yeah.
in the past, what didn't work, and what do you actually want from a relationship? People focus on the wrong things too
Well,
much.
that's a perfect segue into to another thing that I was really interested in asking you about is what sort of things do we have to reflect on as we go from one relationship to the next relationship?
Well, I think the term that comes to mind right now is like people can sort of be lumped in. I mean, there's a lot of talk about attachment theory in the world these days,
Mhm.
which is very important. But one thing to think about is that people can be givers and people can be takers. And
Mhm.
I think if somebody is a giver and they're with a taker, they're going to feel depleted and it's probably not going to work out very well. And it's sorry,
Okay.
my dog's on my lap. And if somebody is a taker and they're with another taker, they're just not going to make each other happy at all. I've started telling people that a giver should be with another giver
Mm.
if you want best relationship success, because then you both are showing like how nurturing and caring you can be for the other person, which is pretty important because a lot of people get in relationships and they are just like wondering how the relationship can serve them. Like,
Right.
what
Yeah.
can I get? What is my partner?
What can I gain from it? What do I get from it?
What are they going to
Um,
do for me?
do they do this on purpose, do you think? Or is it something that's kind of self-conscious?
Well,
Subconscious, pardon me.
yeah, I think probably both can be out there happening in the world. Some people don't really have a lot of clarity around what their morals and values are. So this is another thing I've been talking to people about for years is to try to get clear about what your morals and values are. And then you want to look for somebody who has similar morals and values. And
Right.
sometimes when I talk to people about their morals and values and they're dating, they don't even know what they are.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that
And
makes a ton of sense.
and so then how can you know if you're going to be aligned or not? There's like quite a few things that should align if you want real relationship happiness. Some people are very focused on looks and money and what kind of car a person drives
Yeah.
or all this kind of stuff. And I mean that none of that really is going to tell you if you're going to be able to have a successful relationship or not.
Yeah, for the long term, for sure.
Hmm.
So when you talking about the type of things that we should reflect on then, it includes how, whether we're that giver or taker in that relationship, whether we're a good match on that, whether or not the morals line up with other people. And I guess a lot of this has to do with understanding ourselves
Hmm. Yeah.
and how we are in that relationship. Is there any other things that we should reflect on? Like if we were in a perfect world, one relationship ends and we're given the perfect amount of time to think
Hmm.
about it. And relationships show up, when we least expect it. We all know that. Um, but given a perfect amount of time, aside from those couple of things, what other things should people be thinking about as they stroll down the street reflecting on their last relationship and what,
Well, and I guess maybe to think about like what do they want from a relationship? What is it going to serve in the
Mhm.
future for them? Like, do they want real partnership? Do they want to be a team? Do they want to create a future with somebody? Some people are just out there dating for fun.
Right?
Earlier today on a relationship thing online, I can't remember what I was reading, but somebody said that their ex-husband split up with them, saying, I can't deal with any negative feelings. I can only deal with the positive, and I don't want to have any bad experiences in my life. So their relationship got called off because there's inevitably going to be some, tough conversations that need to be had, and people are going to get annoyed with each other sometimes or disagree sometimes. And this person, I guess, was just like, nope, I can't do any of that. I
Yeah.
don't want to do any of that. So they're going to have a really hard time finding any sort of like long-term success in
Oh,
relationship.
that's so sad.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I think getting clear with yourself and maybe that person might reflect on that and be like, eventually like that's not actually going to be sustainable. Maybe they'll do some therapy to figure out what's going on for them there because there's probably a reason that they're like that.
Yeah.
But to really think about what is it that you want from a relationship? Like, why are you doing this? Some people it's just for sex. They just want to have fun and have sex, have
Mhm.
somebody to travel with a little bit and then move on to the next. Like a lot of
Right.
people are out there in, dating, but not to actually have a relationship. And some people are dating to get married and have kids.
Right.
Some people are dating to have like long-term companionship.
And so understanding about what
What it
is
is you
driving
want.
you to be in a
Hmm.
relationship or not to be in a relationship. Like I guess to be super honest, saying right now in my life, I just want to date people. I'm not interested
Hmm.
in 6 months from now or 1 year from now. And
Yeah.
then I guess if that you understand that about yourself, then you can show up in that situation authentically.
Hmm. Hmm.
But then if you are actually looking for a long-term relationship, what are the things that you're looking for in those relationships, I'm guessing?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think wanting the same things in the future on the same timeline is incredibly
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And so I guess that that kind of thing can really vary depending on a person's age. I
Yeah.
mean, with the divorce rate these days, people of all ages are out there dating. So,
Well, and I'd love to talk to you about that on a separate topic, but
yes.
I think that there's such an age range, and there's such a range of what people want from from a relationship, whether it be a short-term one or a long-term one. So I'd love to dive into that maybe another time, but I think that'll be super interesting for people to listen to.
Hmm.
So then as we in our perfect amount of time that we were discussing before, as we're reflecting and deciding what it is that we want in our next relationship, and who we are in relationships as well. And what sort of things that we think we need some work on. Um, somebody might say, well, what is the perfect amount of time to wait between relationships? And is it dependent upon how long we spent in our last relationship? Is it dependent upon how much damage we feel was done from that relationship? How do
Yeah,
you know when you're ready?
I think there's probably so many, answers to that question, really
Mhm,
depending on the situation. Some people just want to go and start dating again so they don't have to feel the bad feelings of the breakup.
mhm.
Which, I don't
I'm
think
guessing that's not the best reason to go out and date.
no, because you might end up leading somebody on and then you're just having a rebound.
Yeah,
And so, unless the other person knows that you're just out dating for fun and just got out of a relationship,
yeah,
then, as long as you're honest about that. But some people, they just go from one, long-term relationship to the next without really thinking about it, and then they're
yeah,
repeating the pattern. But um, I think if a person well, some people are already not in love with their partner by the
yeah,
time the relationship ends. Like it's kind of been over for so long, they finally
yeah,
decided to call it. So, if they've already been, over the relationship for a bit, then maybe they could probably date fairly quickly.
yeah.
But then
So
they
you're
will
saying it
just want
really
to,
doesn't depend on how long you're in the relationship. It's more about how you are at the end of that relationship. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah, I guess that's probably fair to say. I mean, some people would be married for 20, 30 years.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's just hard to say. Like, what do they want? Do they just want to have fun? At that point, some people do just want to have fun. Some people might just want to be in a long-term relationship. But if they're still a bit heartbroken over the past relationship, you really don't want to be out there dating people who are looking for something serious. Like, give yourself a bit of time to actually get over it.
So it's dependent upon, I'm getting a sense from you that it's dependent upon how hurt they are at the end of the relationship. If you're not hurt and you feel okay, which sounds really sad at the end of any long-term relationship, but if that's the way that actually somebody is feeling,
Hmm.
then maybe they're at least emotionally ready to go
Hmm.
into another relationship because
Hmm.
they've gone past their old relationship.
Yeah, they've already
But
gotten past it.
but I guess the question, one of the things that's in my mind is that as people make that progression from one relationship to the next, um, is there psychological work? And use that term loosely because
Hmm.
you're the counselor. Um, I wonder, and the reason why I say this is that a lot of times in dating, one of the first questions that you hear people ask somebody is, why did your last relationship end? Or what did you learn from your last relationship? And these sort of questions I think are important.
Hmm.
And if you haven't reflected on them, then your answer to it might be very superficial.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what I'm getting at is what do we know? What can we sense about ourselves? How do we know? Like whether or not beyond just emotionally available, psychologically available we are for that.
Yeah, I guess it would vary from person to person. Like, the thing that's coming to mind would be like, how much are you still thinking about your ex?
Okay. Yeah.
That might be a good sign. Or, for some people, it's already been over for years
Right.
and
And they're
they've
just done and
reflected
they
and
don't
they're
think
just,
about their ex at
yeah,
all.
yeah. And they're just so ready to move on. So it really can vary from person to person. I think the question to ask yourself would be like, am I going to set someone else up to get hurt. If I'm out dating, but I'm really not ready to commit, like, is somebody else gonna, would it be like I'm leading them on?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And just to have that that presence in your own mind
Mm-hmm.
as to whether or not I care enough about another human being that I
Mm-hmm.
don't want them to be hurt,
Mm-hmm.
might be a sign in itself that if you're out there going, you know, I don't really care the damage that I do.
Yeah.
I'm going out there for myself. I want
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, I want to find somebody to travel with and that's it. Or I want to have find somebody that I can have intimate relationships with and that's it. And if
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't work out, oh well, it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not thinking about the feelings of the other person.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think a lot of damage is probably done that way out in the
Right.
dating
And but
world.
if you are showing up in that relationship and you're thinking, "Oh, well, yeah, I don't want to hurt this other person because they're a good person. They're a
Mm-hmm.
real life human
Yeah, like
being that
they don't deserve that. They don't need
you
my
know and if you're thinking that way, even though you might say no, we're not a good fit, or there's other reasons why this wouldn't work out, the main thing that's in your mind is whether or not I'm going to hurt this person because of the way that I am presently.
Yeah, I think thinking about the other person when you're out there dating or forming relationships is really important. And
Yeah.
I don't know that a lot of people actually take that into consideration,
I would guess not. And I would love anybody that is
unfortunately.
listening to this, if you got this far, and I hope you have. I would love to hear from people as to whether or not that's actually something that is in their brain as they're looking at people and
Mhm.
they're starting to date people.
Yeah, that
Um,
would be interesting to find out how much of people are actually thinking about, like, do I care about this other person and what's
yeah.
happening for them in this?
I love that. And maybe we'll have an opportunity, you and I, to explore some of the comments that come back on that particular topic. Janelle, it's been wonderful chatting with you. Always insightful. Looking forward to our next chat. And I have just so many other questions to ask, but I think this is probably great for now.
Great.
Again, any closing words you may have?
Um, The one thing that's coming to mind that I wanted to
Yeah,
mention earlier is just that for if people want to be successful in relationships, being able to manage your emotions, like
right.
being able to learn how to regulate is super important because
Yeah.
then you can actually have conversation. You can actually be in tune with yourself and know what's going on so that you can express it properly. And being able to regulate your own feelings is really an important part of
Right,
that.
which
So,
is interesting because sitting right behind you is a feelings wheel.
the feelings.
And
I'm a
I think that that's a
therapist through
wonderful,
and through.
wonderful tool.
Okay, well,
That
thanks for
sounds awesome.
having
Well,
me.
maybe one of our talks will be on just kind of exploring the feelings wheel because, like, if you don't know what it is, I encourage you to understand
Understand your feelings. Life is
yeah,
very different if you can understand your feelings.
yeah. So that's great. So, Janelle, thanks again for this. And everybody, I'll have links to Janelle posted so that if you want to connect with her directly, you can do that. And looking forward to our next discussion, Janelle. It's been wonderful.
Thanks so much.